Greetings, Attic aficionado fans. It's your humble co-host, Tom Barbalet here with a quick review of some time in the attic. I went up there to find a particular book and see if I could find any other objects that were of interest to Attic aficionado listeners. Just as an overview, I have a bunch of larger containers here that contain train and miniature related items. That's a BHP freight car from Australia. And what is this? And Fallschirmjäger and various other. What are they? The Flames of War? I can never remember. Anyway, 28mm miniatures. Just got some dust there. A little Alcatraz pamphlet. So there's a bunch of stuff in here, and, well, it's more an exploration than anything. So I've got a bunch of books here. Of course, I don't get the spines there. And what's in here? Anything of particular interest? Some cookbooks, Indian cookbooks. So I'm looking for a particular book that has like gold leafing, and I wasn't particularly successful in finding it. I'm not giving you the original audio because it's just a whole lot of me breathing very heavily, trying to find things. Although the breathing does get more heavy the more that I find stuff of interest. So for folks interested, this is 80% paperweights, I think, in the lower book. I'm just trying to see what's in this one. Doesn't have the golf. Doesn't have the paperweight with the gold leaf that I'm looking for. So what's in there? I don't know. A bunch of miniature casting stuff, perhaps, and like I said, an 80% paperweight. What else is here? A bunch of smaller books. Behind the big black cases are actually Citadel miniature cases. Now you can see in here there's a fighting fantasy book, which is the green cover, and I don't quite see what it is. Was it the Sorcerer or something? Anyway, that was an old school book, one of my first role-playing books that I ever used. So what's back there? Some Imperial Guard, some Orcs. Oh, these are old World War II era histories. Actually, they're from, I think, the 50s, early 60s. Got a lot of time for them. Very, very gritty, which I like in my history books. Thank you very much. What else have we got here? Bunch more of those little history books, and let me see. Let's turn them the right way, Tom. Tom up in the attic. Turn them the right way. Yeah, let's turn them completely the wrong way. Yes, that's exactly what we want. So I couldn't really see it, but not the books I was looking for, because I was looking for gold leaf. So if you look here, if I can hold the camera just... Anyway, these are Dragon Warriors, which are, again, fantasy role-playing books from the late 1980s. And I've picked up some of those on the open market. I don't think... Maybe one or two of them are my original books. And more of these war histories that I like. Again, moving it over. And some more flat, clear block boxes. Railways at War. What else have we got in there? Not really seeing what's in here. But again, there's the Unofficial Life book from Stephen Levy. A classic. A bunch of my former friends. Well, some current friends too are in there. So, what else have we got here? More figure cases. And again, looking for the gold leaf book. I think there's a Robotech book or two in there. If I turn it the right way around. No, it's associated with Hitler's, I don't know, personal security. And I think it was that book there. There's the original manuals of Noble Ape in one of the published forms. I can't remember which one. So these are actually more densely packed figure cases. And I found they could pack more figures in there and the foam's a bit closer together. But I broke a few shields with the figures that were in there. And I don't know, when I moved from the UK... So this is an interesting item. This is an O-scale train which runs on 2 rail, very similar to Lionel, sent by long-time listener and participant Terry Terrence. So there's a figure case down there that says GD 2004. That's Game Day 2004. That's an AK-47 box that I bought in Malaysia. It has a bunch of Dragon AK-47 like plastic things. So yeah, that GD 2004... was where I met my longtime figure painter friend Fred Reed, and he actually gave me some figures that he had played there. What are they, tanks? I think that's what it says, or orcs. Hard to see. Yep, orcs. So yeah, there once were some orcs in there. I think I probably consolidated a lot of the figures that were in there, so I'm not sure what's on that. I have a YouTube channel called Monty's Reviews, where I open some of those. Figure cases are all taped, so I'm still looking for these books. Not having much success, or at least one book in particular. And over in the corner right, you might see some red labels. They are when I pull out these things, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's what they call Realm of Chaos, which are collectible Games Workshop books. Retail for about 80 odd bucks on eBay. £80 even. Anyway, So, yeah, just looking for that gold leaf stuff. There's some old painted miniatures. A friend of mine came and stayed with me and painted some miniatures there and there. Bunch of DVDs, model rail DVDs. Pretty boring. I don't really open much stuff unless I have to here. What is this here? Was that a foot? Did I see a foot? Looking down, looking down. Not sure what's going on there. Ah! Nothing to see here. Moving right along. Nothing to see here. What do we got? Ah, the open door. And an open door is a Pentecostal, what they call Potter's House Pentecostal, crazy religious folk who, I don't know, I used to DJ for a Potter's House band back in the day. Never been a Potter's House Pentecostal myself, but the propaganda book, The Open Door, was really very interesting. And in terms of like recruiting, these two books, these are three books that are some of my favorite plant biology books. The top two are, I think, are from 1928. Absolutely fascinating discussions of plant biology back in 1928. So moving the figure cases back, very disappointed, couldn't find the book I was looking for. I think in there you've got some of these old Games Workshop books. You can see the format. And I'm trying to get to these cases back here to see what's in them. And let's see what we have here. More DVDs. And looking in, look at the dust. Oh, the respirator's just really, really pleasant up there. Okay, so working around here, we've got a tiny little model rail shack that my wife built, painted in there. Together with some more books. What we got in here? I think these are Robotech potentially, and there's another model rail thing in the bottom there. And moving on, moving on. More filth, flan filth. And yep, more model rail DVDs. I really need to donate those to charity. So what do we got here? Again, more books, more books, more books. And I don't really... a Steve Jackson book, which is a sorcerer. Yeah. Which I guess is an old fantasy roleplay book. A bunch of other things. The Constitution of the US. Kind of thing that most people give me as a joke. I have a few of those that people have given me, so I can read it and remind them what the, 12th Amendment's about, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, what do we got here? More stuff. I think this might be, this is the Robotech role-playing game books, and Ravel is the composer, and some more of those old stuff. There's a tiny tank car. Well, it's not a tiny tank car, it's an O-scale tank car that came from my grandfather's place that eventually I switch around so you can see it. Maybe not this time. Maybe I'll pick it up later. Some plastic bag. It was the fodder, no doubt, back in the day when I was putting stuff up here. So somewhere around here, things start getting slightly more interesting. Could they get more interesting, you wonder? Yes, possibly. Possibly they could. So what are we doing here? We're pulling stuff out, trying to establish what might actually be in these boxes. Apologies for any motion sickness that this hand cam footage causes. Australian Scout books, Alien books, and Hume's Inquiries, all worthwhile books to own. I went through a period of time where I collected scouting manuals, just as an homage. So here we have another model rail box just at the end, and a bunch more of those World War II histories that I like. And looking here, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a saw and various other, I think it's blades and old DVDs, probably Biota, which was a podcast that I did a long time ago. And here we are, more Robotech stuff. In fact, that's the book I just showed, the Robotech and Ravel stuff. Okay, we've got two little things. I'm still looking for the gold leaf book. Here's a bit of a spoiler. We may not actually find the gold leaf book. Okay, so that's a camouflage bear of some description. And maybe something a little exciting in here. So when I got to this box, I thought this is where I might have my sea glass, because these are a bunch of things from my grandfather, who passed away from Adelaide, South Australia. And I was sure there was probably something ocean-related here. So I pulled it out, put it down, and I thought, right, I can show some sea glass. That'll be the first attic aficionados thing that I see. So there's a bunch of like stethoscope lights and other things from my grandfather. And I made that pottery thing when I was in grade school for him. But unfortunately, it was just shells. Now, they're photography things. I think that's a lens. And the other thing that I pulled out the green bag was a photo meter for showing light levels or what have you. So nothing of interest there. Had to repack it all. Very boring. Put it back. I hope I put the stethoscope stuff back. Anyway, I think I did. Anyway, moving on. So we're getting to the last few packages here. And with some excitement, I see a rubbery plastic hand, which could mean only one thing. Yes, Dolly. Found up in the attic. I don't know what happened to his Kalashnikov, I don't know what happened to his monkey, but he's certainly up there protecting a small set of books. And that's his role there. And I think I find in here, so when the military come to identify him, he will have my old green card, and they'll say, aha, Dolly, once a migrant to the US of A. Although he's a Russian migrant, not an Australian or British migrant. Anyway, so the respirator's getting a little tight by this point, and I'm looking a little worse for wear, and I found a bunch of old journals, and nothing really that exciting, and really the whole thing is coming to a, well, still a few more minutes, so I'm going to move myself slowly but surely down into the somewhat darker parts, trying desperately to see some gold leafing on a book somewhere, not really having a lot of stuff. There's some miniature casting stuff, and I don't really know what's in any of these things. It's just like moving them around thinking, no, not a gold leaf book that I wanted to see, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. So by this point the respirator's getting pretty clogged. Yep, there's more miniature stuff, lead, actual lead bars, and casting stuff. And this is the Russian sculptor friend who made a series of molds for me. So, still looking for that book. Not much luck. Moving stuff around, and it's pretty dark and not particularly pleasant. So, if you could hear the breathing, it got more and more laboured, basically, by this stage. It's not particularly pleasant. So, putting things back together, making sure stuff kind of fits together, looking desperately at the dusty stuff. I was debating bringing down a couple of figure cases and showing them off, but by this stage I was just feeling generally fraught because I hadn't been able to find anything, and I had to restack some stuff in order to get it back into some position where I could come around. And I'd restacked some stuff and it was toppling over, and the whole thing was, I don't know, a little bit demoralizing by this point because I hadn't really found anything that I was noticeably looking for, and found probably a bunch of tat, which I probably should have taken downstairs actually, and prepared a few, maybe 3 or 4 charity donation boxes with a bunch of these books. Although, actually looking back on what I saw, really I'd probably only get a box and a half worth of donations, a legal box and a half. So, slowly restacking the stuff so it's actually standing upright. And I think a couple of these things I actually see stuff that's worth noting eventually. That's my grandfather's stuff. And somewhere in there is sea glass. I mean, somewhere in there is at least a parcel of sea glass, and I probably really need to find it. There's my grandfather's tank car. So just noting that, packing it up. And yeah, a bunch of little things. I think this was like radio control plane stuff from the UK. I mean, just a bunch of different stuff. I really probably should order this better and have labelled it with, masking tape or something like that. The transparent boxes are pretty good, but you still need to move stuff around to get a sense of what's going on. So my time in the attic is greatly running out. I'm just reorganizing stuff currently, getting a sense of what's there, and probably where that book might be that I'm looking for. But really, I think I've lost most hope by now. I was able to show Dolly and some shells and a few other little bits and pieces, but mainly just time to pack stuff up. And again, you see the thick layering of dust, which is always very, very pleasurable. So anyway, Tom Barbalet in the Bay Area signing out for Attic Aficionados. I wish I had gotten more interesting stuff. I think this just shows just the volume of, I don't know, the kind of marginalized stuff that I have in my attic. And hopefully what I'll do is progressively get down more stuff. I need to do a bit of a clean up. I need to actually create some donation boxes and get some of those books into better hands. So, I'll have less stuff in the attic and hopefully be a little easier to find things. So, Attic Aficionados is the name of the podcast. Tom Barbalet signing out.